I never thought much about my grandmother's stories. They were always full of spooky houses and hidden rooms.
Now, staring at the creaky Victorian mansion looming before him, those stories felt all too real. The house, his inheritance, stood at the end of Harbinger Lane, shrouded in an eerie silence. Autumn leaves swirled around his feet as he walked towards the house. Each step crunched on the neglected path, the sound swallowed by the heavy quiet.
Sunlight struggled to pierce the thick canopy of trees, casting long dancing shadows.
Alex shivered, a sudden chill gripping him despite the mild weather. He reached the front porch, its floorboards groaning ominously under his weight. The air grew colder, thick with the scent of dampness and decay. Taking a deep breath, Alex told himself it was just an old house. He told himself there was nothing to fear. But a shiver of apprehension ran down his spine as he reached for the tarnished doorknob. The door creaked open, a long, drawn-out groan that echoed through the silent house, as if the very walls were whispering secrets of the past. Alex stepped inside, his sneakers kicking up dust motes that danced in the thin stream of sunlight filtering through a crack in the boarded-up windows. The light seemed to struggle to penetrate the gloom, casting eerie shadows that flickered and shifted with every movement. The air inside was heavy, stale and thick with the smell of decay. It was as if the house itself had been holding its breath for years, waiting for someone to disturb its slumber. Cobwebs draped the furniture like macabre decorations, their delicate threads shimmering in the dim light, creating a ghostly tapestry that told tales of long-forgotten days. Dust lay thick on every surface, a testament to the years of neglect. Each step Alex took left a clear imprint, marking his path through the desolate rooms.
Well, at least I won't have to dust.
It was a feeble attempt at humor, a way to break the oppressive silence that pressed down on him like a physical weight. The silence was almost tangible, wrapping around him, making every sound seem amplified. He felt a shiver run down his spine as he tried to shake off the unease. He wandered from room to room, each one a testament to time and neglect. The once vibrant colors of the walls had faded, and the furniture, now covered in dust and cobwebs, stood as silent witnesses to the passage of time. The faded grandeur of the house was still evident in the ornate moldings and the remnants of what must have once been luxurious wallpaper. The intricate designs hinted at a time when the house was filled with life and laughter. But now it was a haunted shell, a place frozen in time. The echoes of the past seemed to linger in the air, whispering stories of those who had once called this place home. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the sound of Alex's own footsteps and the occasional creak and groan of the old house settling around him. Each sound seemed to reverberate through the empty rooms, adding to the eerie atmosphere. It was in a dusty old album tucked away on a forgotten shelf that Alex found the first clue. The photo was faded and yellowed with age, but the image was clear. A young couple stood stiffly posed, a little boy with mischievous eyes at their feet. The boy clutched a wooden toy soldier, his gap-toothed grin radiating pure joy.
I don't recognize this family. My grandmother never mentioned having any siblings. Who were they? And why was their picture hidden away in this forgotten corner of the house?
He flipped through the rest of the album, but there were no other pictures of the family, just landscapes and photos of people he didn't recognize. He set the album aside, a growing sense of unease settling in his stomach. The house was full of mysteries, he realized, secrets whispered from every dusty corner, and he was determined to uncover them all. A faint humming sound drew Alex down a narrow hallway. The sound was almost hypnotic, pulling him deeper into the shadows. It was a low, rhythmic hum, barely audible above the creaking of the house. The old wooden floors groaned under his weight, adding to the eerie atmosphere. He paused outside each room, listening intently. Each time, the humming seemed to grow louder, more insistent, as if calling out to him. The humming grew louder as he approached a door at the very end of the hallway. His heart raced with a mix of fear and curiosity. It was a plain wooden door, painted a dull grey and secured with a heavy padlock. The door seemed out of place, almost too ordinary for the strange sound emanating from behind it.
What could possibly be behind this locked door? His mind raced with possibilities, each more fantastical than the last. And why the strange humming sound? It was unlike anything he had ever heard before, almost otherworldly.
He tried the knob, but it was firmly locked. The cold metal resisted his attempts, refusing to yield. He peered through the keyhole, but it was too dark to see anything. Shadows danced on the other side, teasing his imagination. He placed his ear against the cold wood, the humming vibrating through his skull. It was almost as if the door itself was alive, breathing in rhythm with the hum. He had to get inside. The mystery gnawed at him, refusing to let go. An inexplicable force seemed to pull him towards the locked door, urging him to uncover its secrets. It was as if the door was calling out to him, begging to be opened. He retreated to the toolshed behind the house, his mind racing with possibilities. What could be behind that door? A hidden room, a forgotten treasure, or something more sinister? He returned with a crowbar, his heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. This was it, the moment of truth. He was about to uncover the secrets of the humming door. With a deep breath, he positioned the crowbar and prepared to pry it open, ready to face whatever lay beyond.
The lock shattered under the force of the crowbar, sending shards of metal flying across the dusty floor. The sound echoed through the empty halls, a stark reminder of the isolation and abandonment that had taken over this once lively place.
Alex pushed the door open, his heart pounding in his chest. The creaking of the old wooden door seemed to scream in protest, as if it hadn't been moved in years. He held his breath, bracing himself for whatever lay beyond. The air was thick with dust, making it hard to breathe, and the darkness seemed to swallow the light from the hallway. The room was small and dusty, illuminated only by the thin sliver of light from the hallway. Cobwebs hung from the ceiling, and the air was stale, filled with the scent of decay and neglect. A child's rocking horse stood frozen in mid-rock, its once bright paint faded and peeling. It was a haunting reminder of the children who once played here, their laughter now replaced by an eerie silence. A small table sat against one wall, scattered with crayons and yellow paper. The papers were brittle and yellowed with age, the drawings on them barely visible. In the center of the room lay a single wooden toy soldier, identical to the one in the photograph. It was as if time had stood still, preserving these remnants of a forgotten past. The humming, Alex realized, was coming from a dusty old record player tucked away in a corner. It seemed out of place, yet it was the only thing that felt alive in the room. A haunting melody filled the room, a sad waltz that seemed to speak of long-forgotten dreams. The music was both beautiful and melancholic, a stark contrast to the desolation around him. But it was the drawing on the wall that sent a chill down Alex's spine. It was more than just a child's drawing. It was a cry for help, a desperate plea from the past. It was a child's drawing, crudely drawn in red crayon. The lines were shaky, as if drawn by a trembling hand, and the image was hauntingly vivid. It depicted a small figure trapped inside a box, a look of terror etched on its face. The fear in the drawing was palpable, almost as if the figure was alive and pleading for release. Above the figure, scrawled in shaky handwriting, were two words: "Save me." The message was clear, and it sent a shiver down Alex's spine. He knew he had to uncover the secrets hidden behind these locked doors.
Save me. Who was this child? And what had happened in this room?
The words hit Alex like a punch to the gut. His gaze darted around the room, taking in the dusty toys, the haunting melody, the desperate plea scrawled on the wall. It was like a scene from a horror movie, except this was all too real. He thought about the photo, the little boy with the mischievous grin. Could this be his room? Had he been trapped here? A wave of sadness washed over him, followed by a surge of fear that tightened its grip around his chest. He had stumbled upon something dark and terrible, he realized, something he couldn't begin to understand. He had to get out of there. He turned to leave, but his blood ran cold. He wasn't alone. Footsteps echoed in the hallway outside the room, slow and deliberate, coming closer. He was trapped.
Terror seized Alex, his breath catching in his throat, paralyzing him with fear. He was trapped, locked in a forgotten room with an unknown entity rapidly approaching him. The footsteps stopped just outside the door. Silence filled the air. He could hear his own heartbeat in his ears, loud and frantic. A floorboard creaked. The door handle rattled ominously. Alex backed away, his eyes darting around the room for an escape route. But there was nowhere to go. He was utterly trapped.
The door swung open, revealing a swirling mist that seemed to coalesce into a chillingly familiar form. A small figure emerged from the mist, a sad smile playing on its lips. It was the boy from the photograph. His eyes, once filled with mischief, now glowed with an eerie light. He held out a hand, his voice a soft whisper that seemed to slither into Alex's mind.
"You found me," he said.
Alex stared in horror as the spectral figure of the child slowly approached. He wanted to scream, to run, to do anything to escape the unearthly apparition that was now so close. But his body was frozen in place, paralyzed by an overwhelming fear. He could only watch helplessly as the ghost child drew closer, its translucent hand reaching out towards him, inch by inch. His last thought before the darkness swallowed him whole was a single terrifying question: what had happened to him in this house? The next morning, the old house on Harbinger Lane stood silent once more, as if nothing had happened. The door to the forgotten room hung open, the dusty toys untouched. Alex was gone, vanished without a trace. Some say he was claimed by the ghost of the forgotten child, his fate forever intertwined with the secrets of the old house. Whatever the truth, one thing is certain: some mysteries are best left buried and forgotten.